So without further ado, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our presenters for today. We have Robin Flipsick and Stacy Grijalva. Sorry, I knew I was going to mess that up. Both from the Denver Public Library, and they are here to talk about the reference interview. So I think, ladies.
Okay, thanks. Thanks so much, Christine. I'm Robin Filipczak. I'm a reference librarian at the Denver Public Library, and I feel like I have the best job in the world because I love taking customers from their questions and getting them to their answers. I feel that as library staff, we work in a really transformative space where if you can answer people's questions, sometimes you can change lives. So I'm really pleased to be with you, and Stacy, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Stacy, and I'm a librarian here in the Denver Public Library also. And I like thinking of my job as that of a detective trying to get to the answer. And so we wanted to start off by having everyone think about a time when they've had a tough question. I'm sure everyone's had this happen. And if you can go ahead and type in the chat box, what did you do that made it easier, that you considered it a successful interaction? Or if it wasn't, what would you change?
So folks are talking about asking a lot of questions, open-ended questions. Tried as many questions as possible. Tell me more. Asked about what I was unsure of. Okay. So someone asked about Persian rugs, but she needed images of rugs because her daughter was traveling and wanted to buy one. So a book might not have been the best place to find that information, it sounds like. Give me some context about your larger project. What's the question, the actual question you're trying to answer? Cool, Lori. You guys all have some great ideas.
And these are all hitting on the common strategies that we use and that we'll also cover through this. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Robin.
Okay, so today we're going to work with a six-step toolkit. We're going to work with a six-step toolkit to conducting an interview, and then we're going to talk about different problems and obstacles that you might encounter when you're engaged in a reference interview. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is mental models. I don't know if you're all familiar with this term, but truly for me, when I learned about the mental model, it was this great aha moment, and it really changed everything for me in terms of how it informs my reference interview practice. So I want you all to close your eyes right now and just think of the word apple for 15 seconds. All right, so go ahead and just type in a couple of the ideas that you came up with, the things that you thought of when you thought of the word apple, or the idea of apple, I should say. Oh, Lori said computer, right, and pie, very delicious, red fruit, orchards, maybe something from your past, a nice, picturing an apple, a bowl on my table, so a specific, something tied very personally to you, New York, the Big Apple, cool, right? So, okay, we're all over the place, right? Thinking about coming at it from different perspectives. So all have our ideas about Apple, and then somewhere on this continuum is the truth of Apple, like everything that Apple represents. And so we all live somewhere on that continuum. None of us has the entire picture, right? So now think about the idea of library, and recognize that we're all somewhere on that continuum, that mental model of how we understand library, how we understand how library is organized. All of us as information professionals, who work in libraries, we have a deeper understanding of library. We have some understanding of how things are classified, how we organize things. And a person coming at it, who doesn't work in a library, isn't going to understand library to the same depth that we will. And so we asked you to put in your name and which library you worked in. We were kind of intentional about asking you not to put in your position, and that's because when you think about it, when someone walks into a library and they walk up to a library staff, their mental model tells them this is the librarian. They don't make a distinction between, a person who is working circulation or shelving or sitting at a reference desk necessarily. And so we know that across the organization, it really does help to have some understanding of how to conduct a reference interview. Okay, Stacy, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. And so I'm sure we've all had this incidents where people come into the library and they just don't tell us what they're wanting. So why do you think that people can't just ask for what they want? You can go ahead and type in your responses in the chat box. They don't know, they're embarrassed. They just have the beginning idea, they haven't thought it all through. They're nervous, they don't want to seem foolish. Prefer to do it on their own. Intimidating, yes, especially for if you are in a big library, then that can happen. Language barriers, or they don't know what's available, maybe what libraries can offer, they just know to go to the library. Or it's very specific project, it's proprietary, possibly. Oh, the common, sorry to bother you, you look busy, that, yes. So these are all reasons that people don't ask what they want. As you mentioned, they think that if they can do it themselves, that they can look at the directory and find out where they need to go. Or it's, as mentioned, it's very specific and they think they're the expert and the librarian doesn't know what exactly they need. Or they're embarrassed. They could be asking about something personal, something legal, something financial. Or they come in because they're starting a project and they want to explore all the possibilities. So they're just starting at that point. And they also just want to, they know what they're asking for possibly. So they say, can I find your books on apples? And maybe they're wanting to start an orchard, or they have issues with their orchard. And so these are all reasons why you need to conduct a reference interview. So the reference interview, starting with what is it? And it's something that everyone has done. It's a conversation just between you, the library staff, and the customer to find out the specific need. What does the user want to do? How can the library provide the materials to help the customer reach that goal? And often there are people come in and they may ask their questions like we saw Where are your books on Persian rugs? That sort of thing. And what they're really looking for is the images, but they're not saying that. And so you want to go through a reference interview so you can get to that point where you find out what they need. Because they're not going to say, here's my problem, how can you help me solve it?
All right, so we have a 6-step toolkit as we talked about. Be approachable and interested. Listen, interview, search, answer, and follow up. So let's go through these different aspects of the interview. So being approachable and being interested. It's really important that we give the gift of hospitality in this moment and we make customers feel welcome. Because, like we said with library anxiety, they're thinking, am I in the right place? Does this person really want to help me? Does this person have the ability to help me? So the beginning stage of the reference interview really sets the tone for what will follow. And you want them to feel like they can ask you a question. So what sorts of behaviors, if you type it into the chat, what sorts of behaviors make customers feel welcome? Smiling, absolutely. Eye contact, a friendly greeting, warm greeting, saying hello, looking straight at them. Can I help you? Ask if you can help, right? Be explicit about wanting to help. Open doors, eye contact, leaning toward the person, greeting them when you first make eye contact. Speak first. Don't wait for them to ask. That's great. Take them seriously. Put away any work. I'm glad you asked. All of the above, Bonnie says. Yes, Bonnie. A couple more folks. I'll go ahead and keep typing. So yeah, we need friendly eye contact. We need to be saying hello. You'll see here Sue in our photo is looking at Alvin, and her computer screen is moved to the side so that she's making that direct connection with him, right? So make sure that perhaps your computer monitor, if it's on an arm, you can swing it away so that there's nothing between you and that patron. Your tone and your body language matters, yes. So there's something called attending behaviors. Maybe you've heard this term. If not, you really know about attending behaviors. You kind of lean forward to the customer in a relaxed manner. A lot of us like to tilt our ear toward the customer when we're listening to them to really, express that we're engaged in some deep listening with them. Address the customer before addressing the computer. In studies, they've surveyed customers after that reference interview interaction, and customers have said, without looking at me, she just started typing into the computer, right? So, or without even speaking, she started typing into the computer. So are we developing that relationship before we even start to answer the question? And that's really important. Someone else offer to help rather than waiting to be asked. Oftentimes we expect people to come up to us, and really it's up to us to be outward facing with our customers. It makes such a difference. What makes people feel unwelcome? Your tone, ignoring them. Yes, not looking at them, frowning. Oh, yeah, that's a classic saying. They give you their request, and then you kind of roll your eyes like, oh, this is going to be tough. Like that doesn't inspire a lot of hope, does it? Past experiences, nothing we did at the time, but someone else did it much earlier. Right. So the part of their mental model is people aren't always helpful at the library. So you've got to rewrite that narrative for them. You're reading a book, you're working on other things, lack of eye contact, just typing into the computer, working on something else. Another good one is like pretending that we're so smart and so capable by using sort of coded language, saying things like, oh, have you checked in the 282s yet? Right? So that makes us sound really smart, except that the customer, remember that mental model, they don't know what a 282 is necessarily. They're not familiar with a Dewey Decimal System. And so that's really, you're othering them in that moment and making them feel that library anxiety. So that kind of terminology. Did you check our circulating collection? I don't assume that everyone knows what a non-circulating and a circulating item is, right? Sometimes you have to help deepen their mental model by giving them a little more, a little more of a definition about what you're talking about. We speak in acronyms all the time in library land. Make sure that you're not using acronyms with customers and patrons. And ask them questions that allow them to describe their needs in their own terms, right? So move back from that library speak and let them just talk about things that in a way that they understand, and then do that interpreting with them.
And the second part
Stacy, I'll
is
turn it over to you.
listening. You don't want to just do regular listening. You want to do active listening. So you want to pay attention. You want to fully concentrate on them. You want to understand what they're saying, respond back to them, and remember what they've said. And the key part is, as Sarah said, interrupting is one of those behaviors that says you're just too busy for the customer. So you want to listen without interruptions. You can pause, see if they'll tell you more. As we mentioned before, there's many reasons why people aren't asking for what they want. People said, they're embarrassed, they don't know. All these are reasons why people aren't asking for what they want, and why you need to listen. And you also need to listen without jumping to conclusions. So someone comes in and asks for a book on whales, and you think the country, and the person is talking about the animal. You're going to take the person maybe over to where the books are for the country, and that's not going to be a successful interaction. They're not going to feel heard. So you want to discover what the customer really wants, even if they phrase it in a way that may be confusing to you. And one way to avoid that is to paraphrase in a way that you understand. So if they say, where are your books on whales? You can say, oh, you're looking for books about the country, or, that sort of thing. And so always keep in mind to be skeptical of what people are asking for, not jumping to conclusions, thinking through all the possibilities. So as was mentioned with the whales example, can anyone else talk about a time when you had a customer ask an initial question and it was general or misleading from what they really wanted? And if you did, why do you think that they didn't ask for what they really wanted? So books about construction, books about World War II when they really need a Hitler biography, eyes or eyelets, yes. Or someone who comes in and maybe says they want to quit wheat. We're here in Colorado, and maybe you mishear and you think that they said weed, so you have to again paraphrase it back to them, make sure you're understanding. They know what they're asking for, so their mental model could be different from our mental model. So someone looking for the GPS program, finding out about navigation. Yes, trying to differentiate between the person and computer programs. Fishing education, thinking about going fishing, but you're talking about computer fishing, misleading people. Yes, so as you can see, there are many, many instances where misunderstanding, mishearing, words sound the same, lead to mistakes. And so we want to avoid that. And there's also, of course, times uh, like the one for uh, navigating, where what they're talking about isn't necessarily what we understand. So where someone thinks they're being clear and they're not. So for example, someone asks, "Where are your travel books?" And really what they want is for books about traveling in your RV, not necessarily how what to see in, say, England, what to see in a different state, that sort of thing. And depending on how your library is organized, these books could be next to each other or they could be far apart. For example, the one example I'm seeing from Rebecca, books on trains. Your Thomas trains or real trains could be next to each other, could be different. Yes, Rome travel and ancient Rome all are in different sections.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the interview step. And right now I'm going to refer to above the chat, you'll notice our handout conducting the reference interview. So I hope you'll all go ahead and download that, and it will point you to, it'll sort of give you a refresher of the things we're talking about today. And there are also some resources for you to do a deeper dive. And so there's an article from Forbes magazine on asking more powerful questions that we've shared with you. And then a link to one of my favorite books of all time, Conducting the Reference Interview by Ross Nilsson and Radford. This book, we really riffed on a lot of the principles in this book to develop this course, and they've just come out with a third edition. So it's highly readable. It's chunked and with a lot of nice call outs, so you can really sort of flip through here and just look at different sections and pull out different key pieces and sort of inform your practice in that way. So I highly recommend it. But at this time, let's go back to that Forbes article. So how do we interview? How do we ask more powerful questions? This article supposes that there are three sort of characteristics. So when we're at a powerful question is first open-ended. So instead of saying yes, asking for a yes or no answer back. So are you looking for books on, as Stacy, going back to Stacy's example, are you looking for books on establishing an orchard? Do you have, so that's a yes or no question. Are you looking to get rid of fruit flies on your apples? Again, a yes or no question. If we ask that what question, what are you trying to do? That's open-ended and it allows for conversation and dialogue with our customer. A beginner's mindset. So approach this reference interview with some degree of enthusiasm. You're about to learn something new yourself. And I always like to think of sort of this metaphoric arm that you put around the customer and say, come on, let's go there together. Let's go on an information seeking, trip to adventure together, right? So if you display that enthusiasm in the interview, it really translates and creates a relationship. And then your questions are clear and succinct. Keep them simple. Don't use too many words. So we're not trying to confuse the customer, right? We're giving them an opportunity to tell us a story in their own words. So here are some examples of open-ended questions for you. And these really, you can think of them as sort of the magic words that open up the door to a great interview. So what were you hoping to find out about X, about whatever question they posed to you? What were you hoping to find out about that? And what would you like to know about that? And so that goes a lot farther than assuming you know what they're talking about, saying, well, is this what you want? Is this what you want? Is this what you want? That just says yes or no, yes or no. It doesn't take you very far. So again, type into the chat box, please. Could you give us some examples of open-ended questions that you've used successfully with customers to get more information about what they're actually looking for? What are you hoping to find? That's a great one. One I love, if I could put the perfect material in your hands, what would it look like? Where did you hear about it? Pam's got a great one, right? Because that helps you to what we call disambiguate the question, right? You can if you're thinking Wales mammal and they're thinking Wales country, that might tell you something. Do you have general idea of the results you're looking for? Right. So what's it going to look like if I can put the perfect thing in your hand? What are you using the information for? That tells you a lot, Teresa. Where do you want to go with this question? Oh, I love it. It's like a little opportunity for adventure. Where are we going with this question? Got a couple more coming through. Help me oh, I love it. Please help me understand better. That's a kind of a face-saving question for the customer, isn't it? Just saying like, I'm no expert. You're kind of the expert. Tell me what you need to know. Really gives them that sort of empowers them. Could you tell me more about what you're looking for? Yeah, so these are great examples. So I'm not familiar with that. What is this person you're asking for known for? How is that spelled? Is also a good one to disambiguate. And we don't know how to spell everything, right? What did you already find that was helpful? Great one. Can you explain that to me in more detail? Is there something specific about X that you're looking for? Is there something specific about toasting that you're looking for? Oh, well, I'm going to be toasting I need wedding toasts, right? So describe the kind of information you'd like to find. What do you want to know about this topic? You all have some great examples here. And then if you're working on maybe with a student, right? So you've got an assignment, uh, good ones for homework questions, things like, can you tell me more about your report or your assignment and what's required of it? After we move from open-ended questions, do you have an assignment? Okay, Jamie says, do you have a copy of what your teacher gave to you? And that's kind of the next thing I wanted to talk about. This is a sort of refereed question. So we're playing a bit of telephone here. A professor, a teacher gives a student an assignment, and then the student comes to the librarian and translates what the teacher has asked for, right? So you might have a customer coming to the desk saying, my professor told me to come here and ask for Eric, right? And so the customer thinks that Eric is a person that they can get in touch with and get answers from at the library, where Eric, as a lot of people in library land know, is an educational resource database, right? So the professor's telling you want to go to this database to find information, and it's being translated, right? So oftentimes, if you can get back to the assignment that the teacher or professor has given to the student, that can be really helpful for you to do the translating without that mediation. Or a copy of your syllabus, great. So after we've done some open-ended questioning, it's okay to ask what are called clarifying questions, because you want to make sure you have all the details that you need. So things like, what have you found on this topic already? I don't want to put the same resources in your hands that you already have. Tell me what you've already found. You can ask what kind of time constraints they have. Do you need it today? Can I get back to you with more information later today or in a week? If how many of different types of resources do you need if it's an assignment? If you So it sounds like you can only use 2 internet resources and the rest have to be peer-reviewed articles or books. Is that correct? Do you need color photographs or black and white photographs? Do you need that exact title? If someone comes in asking for a title, do you need that exact title, or do you just need to know about the topic that's covered in that title? Can I put something else in your hands today if we can't find that particular book that you're asking for? All right, we're going to move now to a video. Here are some examples of those questions. Sorry, I forgot to show you these all. We'll get back to these, but Christine is going to go ahead and pull up a video of Stacy and I demonstrating the reference interview.
there.
Hi.
Can I help you with anything?
Yeah. I'm looking for books on becoming a lady.
Oh, congratulations, you're getting a title?
Uh, no, not exactly.
Oh, well tell me what you're looking for then.
Well, my granddaughter is 13, and she's becoming a woman.
Oh, okay, so it sounds like you're looking for books about maybe her going through puberty and getting her period, is that right?
That's right, yes.
All right, so let's see what we have for you. We have books in the section. It would be in the 612. We can get that for you just around here.
Okay.
And then there's also books that she could read that you might want to share with her. Those would be down in our teen section. They start with a Y for young adult.
Uh-huh, sure.
Does it sound like something you'd like?
Yeah, that sounds perfect for us, yes.
Okay, so let's go over to the 612 books.
Okay.
We can get started there.
All right.
And then if you need any other help, you can just let us know and we can find some others for you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, Stacy. Let's see. So, can you talk about negative behaviors that you saw in this interaction? Just a few comments. Negative things you saw. Stacy walked by. Yep. We started without an open-ended question. We used call numbers. Right, jumping to the conclusion that she was getting a title, which Stacy and I also think is quite hilarious. But yes, too prying. Okay. Who would like to share some positive behaviors that they saw? Smiling, she put her work down. She's friendly enough. She offered some options, made eye contact. She came back around, right? She ignored it at first, but then did the right thing and came back around. She walked her to the section, didn't say go, fly, be free. She said, let me get you there to exactly where you need to be. And said, let me get you something for your granddaughter and something for you. And noticed, yeah, that the woman felt a little uncomfortable, so she kind of lowered her voice and made that woman feel more comfortable talking about her topic. And then, yeah, after she kind of got there, by eventually asking an open-ended question, she clarified, she paraphrased, and to say, is this what you're looking for? Encouraged her to come back if she didn't find what she needed. Yeah. So what sort of questions worked well for eliciting more information in the interaction? Tell me more. It's really, if you remember nothing else, right, just tell me more is really a great one. Does that sound like what you're looking for, right? Not jumping to a conclusion, taking it back to the customer to make sure. Does that sound, is that really what you want? And what questions were non-productive? Are you getting a title? So jumping to your own mental model of what becoming a lady means, right? Instead of being curious about this customer's understanding of what becoming a lady means, right? Great. Okay, you guys are good at this. So now I'm going to turn it over to Stacy.
So we're going to give you all a chance to practice. So you can go ahead and type in your answers into the chat box of how you'd answer this question if a customer asked it. So customer comes up and asks you, where is your Shakespeare section? Trying to clarify. Are you looking for a specific item that Shakespeare wrote? Information about Shakespeare? What about Shakespeare you want to know? Using that great phrase, tell me more. Trying to find out if it's for an assignment. Is this for a class project? Because that will definitely inform what you're looking for. How often do assignments require print resources or electronic resources, certain types? And yes, clarifying that items about Shakespeare are in different places. Sometimes people assume that they're right next to each other. So trying to narrow down what the person's looking for. Or if you're a government library, maybe they are at the wrong spot, helping them to the nearest public library. So yes, you want to keep also using those open-ended questions that Robin talked about that let people tell you more information. So asking perhaps what they're looking for, what their ideal material would be, that sort of thing. Because it could be possible that they want to go to the Globe Theatre in London and they want to find the times for the performances. They'll go for a tour or find out when it opens. But in their mind, they can find that if they look in the Shakespeare section. And of course, for library staff, you're already thinking all the different possibilities. If it's a biography, if it's a play, if it's a sonnet, that sort of thing. So once you've done the steps up to now, you've listened to them, and now you want to go on to the next step. So this is the fourth step, and this is when you get to the searching. All that up to then has just been built up. And if you are not a librarian or you have a different job role, this could be the point when you hand it off to someone else. But even if you're handing it off, you've done a great job of showing the customer that they came to the right place, that they came to the library and there's someone there who can help them, who welcome them, who listen to them, who help them find what they're really looking for, narrowing it down. And so if you are, however, the one who helps them search, then there's a few different things that you want to do. Someone mentioned confirming spelling. Yes, especially when there's words that sound similar. I think someone mentioned eyes and also eyelets, I-E-L-T-S. So confirming spelling can help you weed out those mistakes. Or if it's something, for example, if someone's looking for a movie with a common title, do they remember dates? Or even books sometimes have common titles. Seeing, is it a recent item? Is it something that's a little bit older? Did they hear it mentioned in maybe their radio show that they listen to on their way in if they saw it on TV? Did they already look for it? Are they coming to you at the start of the process? Or they've already spent 20 minutes being frustrated and now they're at the point where they're ready to ask for help. And when you're searching, you want to include them. You don't want to have the behaviors that show you're not interested where you just start typing. So if you are typing, you're going to explain what you're doing. You're going to include them. That will also allow customers to do it themselves when they're looking the next time. And as Robin mentioned, some of the questions can tell you how much, the yes or no questions can tell you if they have the time to do this searching. Do they have 5 minutes because they need to go back home or go pay a meter or pick up their child? Or did they come in and they have a free hour and they're here to really get in-depth answers? And I know we often think of the library as a place to learn. And so this is a point where you can do a little bit. You don't want to overwhelm them with too much information, but you want them to know that the library is the right place to come. So if you're searching, you don't have any results that are coming up, you're going to go back to your reference interview skills, talk to them, find out more, maybe think of different phrasing that could work. If for some reason Wales, the country, wasn't coming up, can you go broader? Or when it's something very specific, if it's proprietary, then that's another instance when you may want to go broader and think of synonyms, alternate terms. And this isn't something where you're just telling it to the customer. You want to encourage them to contribute their ideas too. And then also keep in mind that the right answer isn't necessarily you in the library or a book. For example, if someone was asking for Shakespeare at a government library, the public library is the right place where someone could go for that. So thinking of the other places where you can refer someone or other resources. So if someone is looking up, trying to find a book on a topic that's very recent, there may not be something written yet, but there could be online resources that could help. Or if you are, say, in London, then you could refer a person to go to the Globe Theatre, see it, and that could inform them for their projects. So think of the referrals that are available. Robin?
Okay, so now we're providing an answer and we're giving some follow-up. So make sure that in library land, we are great at giving credible resources to folks. So cite your sources to demonstrate the credibility of a resource. I'm providing you with this information about celiac disease from the PubMed database or from a research study that was conducted at the University of Michigan Medical Center, right? So you're demonstrating the credibility of a source, why they can trust the information that you're giving them. And then you want to do some follow-up, right? And so give the customer some options for coming back to you and getting more information. If you're Stacy and you've just walked me over to the books on puberty, you say to me, I'm just going to be over here, and if you don't find exactly what you need, come back and see me and we'll do some deeper searching, right? Let them know that you have an expectation that they'll come back to you if they don't find what they need. Maybe that's giving them your business card or your phone number, or asking them for their contact information so you can follow up with them with more information. Make sure you've determine what the reasonable time frame is for follow-up, and remember that the only way you can find out if you've given a person exactly what they need is by asking them. And we have some great questions that are sort of the gold standard in library land. We say, have I completely answered your question? And so you've now given that customer the opportunity to say to you, well, you did great. That was terrific. But really, I also need to understand this piece of the topic. So you give them the opportunity to say, no, that's not entirely it. You want to make sure that your customers go away with, 100% success rate. And the only way you can do that is by asking them, is there anything else I can help you find? Do you have any other questions for me today? Sort of remember, too, that it's never just one question. If I ask you about how I vote, how do I register to vote in the upcoming election, then my next question is probably going to be, how do I find information on the candidates, and how do I find information on ballot issues? So make sure that they know that they can keep coming back. We know that customers sometimes feel like they're bothering us. Make sure they know that they're not bothering you with follow-up. If you don't find what you need, please come back to me and we'll try something else. So, and then kind of build their mental model in that moment by letting them know that there are other ways that they can get in touch with the library. You can phone us. Did you know that we have a chat service that you can reach 24 hours a day to get your questions answered? Someone's not going to come up with that idea from the font of their imagination. You're going to have to explicitly tell them that your library maybe offers that service. Let them know that you have technology appointments, one-on-one technology appointments, or that you will put together a personalized reading list for folks if they're looking for things to read. So make sure that you kind of promote different services that your library provides that they may also want to take advantage of, apart from just getting this specific question answered. Okay, so now let's discuss. In the chat, we'd like you to tell us, what was the number one takeaway that you got from this session today? Plan of action. Tell us more, Tom. Open-ended questions. Ask open-ended questions and don't assume. Don't follow to assumptions. Follow-up questions with clarifying questions. Right. Make a distinction between those two. Mental models. If you kind of remember that at the outset of an interaction, you're going to go further. You're going to you're putting yourself in your customer's shoes at that point. Be receptive to the patron. Ask lots of questions. Use empathy, right? And going back to that mental model really does trigger your empathy, I think. This tool 6. Let's see here.
Step number 5 was answer, and then 6 is follow up.
Take my ego out of this process. That's terrific, right? Be a blank slate in terms of being adventurous about what you're about to do, and don't act like you're the expert and come off as intimidating to people. Hospitality is a gift that we give them. Go ahead, Stacy.
Giving citation information has the additional thing about letting people know that it's not just you specifically that knows this. So if the person comes back and the customer is saying, oh, well, Robin helped me last time, and that you don't want them to think that only Robin has this information. Well, so when you cite your sources, then they know that any of the librarians, whoever they go to, can help them next time.
Search with them, not for them, right? So Gabriel's talking about that like I talked about, that metaphoric arm that you put around him. Say, come on, let me show you how this is done. You can do it too. You're giving them some skills, that idea of fishing for a lifetime. Be interested in them, equip them for success. Super. A couple more coming in. Patron first, then computer. Yes. We are so good at computer first. It's really good if you can keep remembering that, make that part of your practice. There are multiple reference libraries. Right. Let them know that the library is a helpful place. No matter who you get here, you're going to get great. You're going to have success. Okay, so let's take you back to conclusion. Okay. So when you're learning a new skill, it's really important that you focus on one piece of the skill at a time. And after you feel comfortable using that skill, then you can think about integrating more and more. It's just like driving, Stacy always says. So we hope that you'll take some different pieces of the toolkit and try them on for size and see if they work for you, and then reflect back. You know, what pieces of the toolkit were you able to adopt, and what worked, what was successful, what could you change up again, and keep informing your practice with what you've learned today.
The
Stacy, you want to?
handout is there above the chat box. If you want to download it, you just click on it, and then the download file button becomes available for you. We are also available to answer questions. There's our emails on the screen. You can contact us at any time. We may not get back to you at midnight if that's when you email us, but we'll get back to you soon.
Does anyone have any questions for us right now that want to type in and ask away? How do you calmly answer a frustrated patron? Sorry. Okay, Sarah, that's a great question. So a lot of time, I think sometimes frustration stems from not feeling like you're heard. And so Stacy talked about using active listening, right? So making sure that if they need to vent, you kind of let them vent, and sometimes after they've kind of released that frustration, you've maybe settled them. Sometimes it means frustration stems from the fact that they've been passed around by multiple people in the library. Oh, well, instead of having the first person, like they thought, library staff equals librarian, so they asked someone and then that person didn't feel like they could help them. They didn't have the steps to the reference interview. Maybe if you can, you can get that interview going, even if you're not the person who's ultimately going to be searching, but just kind of trying to figure out what they want. If you have to pass them off to another person who's going to be helping them ultimately, you can say, hey, this is, maybe you ask for their name. This is Robin, and she needs to know how to get fruit flies off of her house plants. You can, and you're passing them off. They don't have to re-ask the question and go through another reference interview with the second library staff. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Stacy, do you have any?
I think also just acknowledging that the reason that they're frustrated is legitimate, especially if they've been passed around. So I'm sure we've all had that experience where you call in for help and you have to explain yourself multiple times to each person who picks up the phone. So if that happens to someone in the library, just letting them tell you and saying, yes, that is frustrating. Let's try and fix that now.
Loire is asking about phone interviews. It's a really good question. You don't have a lot of those visual cues that you'll have in a face-to-face interview. So active listening plays a role. I know at Denver Public Library, we're not allowed to just do what's called a cold transfer of a call. If someone comes through and asks for something, we have to, if we're going to do a transfer, we have to wait for the phone to ring on the other end, and we have to start talking to the other employee, the other staff person, saying, hey, I'm working with a customer, and they are hoping to download an ebook on the Libby app. Will you be able to help them? We never want that customer to go through their request a second time, because that does ultimately create a lot of frustration. So we do what's called a warm transfer on the phone. And if you smile when you're on the phone, people can tell. So true.
I think another thing for phone interviews, since you don't have that visual confirmation of someone nodding and understanding, is checking in verbally that you are understanding them more often than you may do if they were in person. All those things, that you're getting the spelling right, that they're following along. Are you actually pulling up the type of items that they're interested in? And then maybe also there may come a point where you have to clarify what's possible over the phone, and that some may be better for an in-person session.
Yeah, and if you're struggling to find what they're looking for, like we talked about inclusion, including them in the search, that's an opportunity on the phone. If you go silent, 30 seconds of silence on the phone sounds really weird to a customer. So say, boy, I'm having some trouble finding this, and then tell them what, your next step that you're taking. But, do you still have time to hang on while I do some more searching? And that just sets the expectations, resets their expectation clock, really. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for being such active chatters. And we do have a survey for you. Christine's just put that in the chat. We hope you'll fill that out and help us to, continuously improve this class. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, as we wrap up today's session, I want to say a huge thank you to Robin and Stacy for sharing this information.